أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين واللعن الدائم على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. As we remember, in the previous meeting we were talking about some of the important points in order to have good and religious children. As you remember, we mentioned some of the Islamic narrations in this regard, and we explained some of the details of those teachings. Now I would like to add to what I explained earlier this important topic that at the same time is considered to be one of the problems that we have. The problem is sometimes we know our teachings or our children know Islamic teachings, but at the same time they do not follow those teachings in action and practice. Now we're going to study once again those teachings of light, which is from the source of light, Allah, in order to know what is our duty, what is our responsibility in order to have children who not only know but also practice religious teachings in their life. At the same time, this could be some sort of lesson to ourselves as well, so we are able to take benefit of the point that I mentioned tonight for ourselves as well as for educating and upbringing our children. According to our sources, whether the Holy Quran and the narrations of our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him and his family, and also the narrations from Ahlul Bayt, it's important to create an Islamic environment in order to achieve one goal. Let me tell you what is the goal, and then I explain that Islamic environment. First of all, about the goal. In order to solve that problem that I mentioned, we have to change our knowledge, what we know, and we have to transfer it into something that is inside us. We're living with it and we're living in it. The same as the subject of hunger, thirst. I'm asking you, when you feel that you're hungry, what are you doing? When you feel that you're suffering from thirst, what will you do? It's natural that you're going to eat or drink something. Why? Because starving or hunger is something inside you that you know and you feel it by the whole body. About other teachings also, if you try your best, in order to transfer whatever you know into some sort of feeling similar to hunger or thirst, you're going to gain the result. As a result, when such a thing happens inside your children, they inevitably are following the teachings of our religion. Now, after explaining the goal, I'm going to give you some practical measures. Our teachings start from the beginning, from the name that we choose for our children, and that is very important. Even we have in our narrations that choose the name before the birth. If you know that your child is male or female, you're going to choose the appropriate name. And nowadays, it's possible. It's interesting to know that we had the same point in our narrations. And now, through this, through these modern technologies, we are able to know whether our child is male or female. So it is recommended even to choose the name of your child before the birth. And some other things that I mentioned earlier, I do not repeat. So one other example is recitation of adhan and iqama in his or her ears. Reciting adhan in the right ear and iqama in the left ear. And some others that I do not want to repeat. But I add to what I mentioned earlier some new points. Another important thing is preparing a good environment for children for their education and upbringing. We have to care which school or which kindergarten we choose for our children, which university. It's very important. We have to care about the friends of our children. Once again, it's very important. In the Holy Quran, when God explains what happened in the day of resurrection, one of the things that we're going to see in that particular day is those bad friends that insisted committing sins and wrongdoing. And at that time we will regret choosing them as our friends. The same thing, we have to be careful and we have to be aware about our children in order to have good friends. To have good relationship with those who have knowledge. This is also another thing. We have in our narrations that meeting a scholar, an alim, and also seeing the face of alim is a recommended act. This is because of the effect of such meeting has on us and on education. Okay, through all of these points that I mentioned, we have to follow to create the concept of love in our children. This is the most important measure that we are able to establish in our children if we want to have good children. Primarily, it starts from God and love of God. It is interesting, we have in our narrations that when your child is able to speak, the first time that your child is able to speak, teach him or teach her, La ilaha illallah, there is no God but Allah. So the first thing that is going to be uttered by him or her is nothing but the name of God and this important phrase that there is no God but Allah. And this is the first love that we have to teach him or teach her, love of God. And after this love, love of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him and his family. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. And love for the household of the Prophet, Ahlul Bayt. And then the Holy Quran. We have to teach him or teach her the Holy Quran. Let me tell you what happens when we teach him or teach her the love of God. When we love someone, inevitably we're going to follow him. It's the natural result of real love. We have in the Holy Quran, in the case of the mission of our Prophet, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى. O Prophet, tell people that I do not want any reward for the blessing that I have given to you, I brought to you, anything other than love for my family, for my household. So, and it is actually a verse of the Holy Quran. And if we are real Muslims, we have to love them. And when we love them, we have to follow them. It is meaningless that you say, I love someone and I do not listen to him. I do not follow him. So if we really lovers of Ahlul Bayt, we have to follow them as well. So this is the natural result of love that we establish in our children. But let me tell you another secret. How to teach them the love. The most important way in order to teach your children love of God and love of the Prophet and love of the Ahlul Bayt is to practice this type of love yourself. When your children see that you really love God in your practice, in what you say, in what you do, it is the most important things that you are able to do in this regard. And the second point is to respect your wife or your husband. It is another secret. It is another secret. We have religious people who are knowledgeable people as well, but they do not have good children. When we study at home, at their home, inside the house, we see that husband and wife do not respect each other. It is very important. It is very important. Even though if you have some problem in the first one, if you do not really love God, the level of your love for God and the Prophet of God and the Ahlul Bayt is some percentage low, you can compensate by respecting each other. It's very important. When husband respects his wife and the wife respects her husband, the children will be brought up in a way that they are committed to religious teaching. It's very interesting. I told you, even with the parents that are not so religious, it has this interesting and important effect. And the final narration that I want to say, because it seems that we have limit of time, is a narration once again from our Prophet, beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him and his family. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad wa ala Prophet, peace be upon him and his family, says, woe to the children of the end of the time. Woe to the children of the end of the time. And the reason is their parents. The companions of Prophet asked him, do their parents are infidels, polytheistics? Prophet replies, no, they are believing people. They are believers. But the problem is, according to our Prophet, at the end of the time, the parents do not teach the children the teachings of religion. They do not teach the children what they should do and what they should avoid. This is what was forsaken by our Prophet more than 1,000 years ago. And you know, and you see the same problem we are facing now. Almost the only thing that is considered to be the concern of the parents is nothing but financial affairs. To provide the children with what they need to eat or to wear or to go. That's all. Even among Muslims. And this is exactly what was said by our Prophet. And this is something that we have to avoid. If we want to have good children who are acting Islamically, we have to concern their education, their Islamic knowledge. Merely choosing a good school is not enough. Probably, and this is the fact in the most cases, unfortunately, they do not learn whatever they need in the schools. So we have to provide for them whatever they need. Through any way, any type of measure that is needed. Okay. I summarize what I mentioned in some sentences, and that is enough for tonight. Actually, as you remember, we started mentioning some Quranic verses and Islamic narrations regarding the way that we have to educate and upbring our children. And we mentioned, in order to be able to have good children, we have to transfer the knowledge that, first of all, we have to give them the knowledge, the real knowledge, which is Islamic teachings. And then to transfer that knowledge into something of feeling and action in our children by creating good environment, Islamic environment, choosing good friends for them, good place for education, and meeting good people, those who remind us and remind our children of God and the teachings of God. This is the summary of what we had today and also previous session. Thank you very much for your time and attention. May God accept this type of gathering, and let me add this final point to what I said, that this type of gatherings also has a very important effect on the education of our children. So to be in this type of gathering, participating in this type of meeting also is very fruitful and essential. Once again, thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Rahimallahu man qara'a al-Fatiha ma'a as-salawat.